As part of the section module, let's go to the details about performance tuning of SQL queries. As developers, it is very important for us to take care of performance of our application. Whether you are a UI UX developer or backend developer or database developer, it is very important for you to take care of performance of your application. Typically, when you are a backend developer or database developer, one of the key consideration when it comes to performance is nothing but SQL queries. You should make sure your SQL queries are running effectively without much gaps. If your SQL queries are running fine, then the performance of the overall application will be great. In this sectional module, we'll actually go to the details about how to tune the performance of SQL queries as a backend developer or database developer. These are the steps which we typically follow. The first one is primarily to generate the explain plan for the queries. Once the explain plan is generated for the SQL queries, you should be able to interpret the explain plan. You should spend enough time to interpret the explain plan. When it comes to the outcome of interpreting the explain plan, you should be able to identify the performance bottlenecks. So by now, you should identify the performance bottlenecks in the queries. Once you identify the performance bottlenecks in the queries, then you need to make sure you take care of addressing that performance bottleneck using appropriate technique. If there is an index missing, then you need to make sure the required index is added. If the query is not written properly, then you need to take care of rewriting the query more appropriately so that the performance is good. The final step is to act by using a right technique to improve the performance or to address the performance bottleneck. These are the three steps which we typically follow. Generate the explain plan, interpret the explain plan, and identify the performance bottlenecks. Once we identify the performance bottlenecks, make sure you come up with the appropriate solution to take care of the performance bottlenecks. As part of the sectional module, we will actually go through all these details. We will see how to generate explain plans for the SQL queries, how to interpret the explain plan and identify the performance bottlenecks, and also how to fix these performance bottlenecks. Along with these steps, we'll also cover other important concepts that are relevant with respect to performance tuning for the scenarios which we are going to cover in this sectional module. Also, you can consider this as another scenario when it comes to troubleshooting and debugging SQL queries. Earlier, we have only covered 3 scenarios. Let me go to the whiteboard related to troubleshooting and debugging SQL queries. You should be able to review the details here. When it comes to troubleshooting and debugging SQL issues, we have only covered database connectivity issues, syntax and semantic errors, bugs in queries. You can also add performance issues. When it comes to bugs in queries, when you test your application against the requirements, you will see results differently. But when it comes to performance, the results will be as per the requirements, but there might be complaint that the application is running slow. That's where you have to troubleshoot and fix performance related issues as well as an engineer or developer. As part of the previous sectional module, in the process of troubleshooting and debugging SQL issues, we have covered these 3 areas. Now in this sectional module, let's go to the details with respect to performance tuning of SQL queries, which will end up addressing the performance issues. We'll also go to the details about how to troubleshoot or debug the performance related issues so that we can identify the root cause and fix.